Yo, what's going on? It's the NOC, the Nerds of Color. And we are back with another ShoPowSho. It's your boy, Kuya P, aka the Babinka boy, the Adobro, the leader of the Holla Holla homies in the Center Gang, aka Patrick Michael Strange. And today we have another great ShoPowSho for you guys. There's an amazing film dropping this Friday at the Los Angeles Pacific Film Festival. It's called The Monsters Without. It's written, directed by the amazing Randal Kamradt, and features Jake Macapagal, huge stars here, huge directors. I'm just loving the Philippine talent right now, because you know that's what I'm all about, is representing for my people, because I love my people. But before we get into it, I want to send a salute, because I'm sure you're wondering, where's the Amazing Ates, the Dinagon Destroyers, the Sisig Supremes? Well, they couldn't make it tonight, but you know they'll be back on as normal. We got a lot of things going on. We got a lot of stuff in the kitchen. We're cooking it, y'all. We got amazing ShoPow gonna drop freshness that we're gonna deliver to y'all. So before we deliver with this episode, I'm gonna throw it to the trailer for The Monsters Without, and also another amazing film that my buddy Randal Kamradt has that's gonna also drop at the Los Angeles Film Festival. It's called No Dogs, a really important one in that one as well, that you're gonna want to check out as well. So let me stop wasting time. Let's throw it to the trailers. Here we go. The Monsters Without, as well as No Dogs, and then I'll be right back with Jake Macapagal and Randal Kamradt. Here we go.
The Diablo, or monsters, were here before we
Every
were.
form of Diablo has demonstrated nearly human-level intelligence. It is because of that dangerous intelligence that the governments of the world, those in the know, have decided to keep these discoveries as a kind of open secret.
They came from another dimension 3 million years ago. Nobody knows what they were running from.
A monster from the pen, and you always known us. The horrors we will reign.
It's not just the Diablo at stake. The whole world could be. You can't just let them be taken.
Are you going to stop me from saving the world?
There you go. The trailers for The Monsters Without, as well as No Dogs, they will both be premiering at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. And now, as you see on the screen, I'm so honored to have them both on. Writer-director Randal Kamradt and star Jake Macapagal, actor extraordinaire. Air horns are blasting off right now. Y'all can't hear it, but I'm putting it in post. Y'all just blah, blah. Just imagine. We are celebrating you guys. We are giving you your flowers. I'm honored to have you both on. This is a pleasure. And Jake, coming all the way from the Philippines right now, thank you for arranging this time to join us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for us. It's my birthday today in the Philippines.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
Jake.
and very, very honored to be here. As I've said before, I follow Kuya P in ShoPowSho and Nerds of Color. I think he has an important message to spread around the world. So I'm very happy and also very honored that our director Randal is joining us this morning, or whatever time it is.
Yeah, and I follow the show too, and I've been watching all the episodes for a while now. So yeah,
Oh, man.
great to be here.
I'm so honored, gentlemen. I can't tell you how important that is to hear, because yeah, it's all about our people and bringing our stories to the forefront. And so in that regard, you have this amazing film that features us as Filipinos, features our mythology, the crazy stories we've told or have been told, as well as the importance of No Dogs that we'll get into as well with the Watsonville riots. Just important history that needs to be put out there and learned, because we don't see it in a lot of American history books and, all that. So I love it. And I have to ask you both, how did the Monsters Without happen? How did you get Jake involved? Randall, I'm gonna throw it to you first, since you're the writer director. You would know how this all came together.
Oh, yes.
Welcome again, Randall.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, getting this movie made, long process. We actually did the filming, what was it, 4 years ago, I believe. So it's been a long process, and we've been developing it even before that. But really, the origin of it was that I was living in the Philippines for a while with my then girlfriend, now wife, and also my producer, Randal Kamradt, and she. I was living at her house, and I was starting to hear sort of the local folklore about creatures, about the aswang and the kapre and the tikbalang and all these creatures. And it occurred to me very quickly that, this mythology was very robust. In fact, it kind of seemed like, even in comparison to other cultures' sort of version of the same thing, this one was a little exceptionally interesting and sort of. There were so many interesting rules to how these creatures work and what their sort of powers were. So it occurred to me that this was fertile ground for a film. So I sort of put that in the back pocket and started to think about what to make with it. But where it really started to come together was when I met Jacqueline Holden, who is our makeup designer, and she's also Filipino American. And she showed me the makeup work that she was able to do, the creature she was going to be able to make. And I sort of realized at that point, like, hey, even though we're sort of a lower budget movie, like, with her on board, we can do this. We could create these creatures. Like, this is the key to making this sort of big genre movie. And so we don't have to be afraid of that. After that, it was, writing, developing, trying to figure out what we're going to do, all of that. And, in the process of writing, it didn't take long before I realized we were going to have sort of a male lead that I wanted someone with some gravitas for. And so I try to keep up with as many movies as I can. And I had recently seen Metro Manila, which was on Netflix at the time. And I just sort of thought, like, if only we could get that guy, if only. And eventually I started thinking, well, you may as well, see what I can do. And I reached out to him on social media. And you know what? I think I'll toss it to Jake for his side of where that went.
Yeah. So years ago, when Metro Manila was under the radar, and what a great opportunity for the win in Sundance, because what paved way for Filipino stories was, it was paving ways for Filipino stories. And, but for me, my connection was there were a lot of people who were getting in touch with me, not only singing praises for the film, but also finding ways so that we could collaborate or work together. And I'm a very open person, in terms of, like, if you get in touch with me, we will see what I can do. And Randall was very, very earnest. And obviously, my wish as a Filipino actor based in the Philippines is that we would have the same equitable experience as everybody else. So not necessarily pushing myself forward, but also helping my other colleagues get into the system of it's not only a national thing. We're not only talking about pushing Filipinos or Asians, but just imagining a world where everybody collaborates, because you just live in one planet without using buzzwords. We do need to hear from people that you never see on screen. You need to see people whom you've never seen and heard. So it took a while for me to decide, because I really didn't know which way I would go at that point in early on. But I was just so fortunate now that we realized that, pushing forward to what we experience now, that every gift or every gift that's being given to you by the chance of collaborating and working together, like filmmaking, is really a fantastic opportunity to just live and experience that moment. So we did go from uh, just ironing the schedule, and then suddenly I found myself in Biliran. Biliran is in the southern part of the Philippines. It's right beside Leyte. Leyte is just for so that everybody knows. Leyte was badly hit during the Haiyan typhoon years ago. But Biliran is a place also where the mother of Randall hails from. Lucy, who's also part of the entourage building this film together. She has this group of women who support our film, from her neighborhood to bring us food, to keep us happy, and just gave a lot of love surrounding the filmmakers during that time. So all in all, it's a wonderful experience. And now that we're bringing it forward for the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival and talking to you and even muttering a word about the film, we've been hoping that this day would come, and it's happening. I'm just very happy about it.
I love it. I love it. So back to you real quick. So we're putting together the script for this project. How much research? So you were living there, which has to be the best for any filmmaker, that especially in our homeland and getting to absorb the culture. Did you talk to any other aunties, uncles? So I would assume you had a little bit of stories growing up. I think like we all did, but then you're there and you want to put this together. You want to formalize it a little bit, get some structure, and find out where certain things come from. What was that like? And with collaborators, if you had any additional people that assisted you with that.
For the research, actually, Jake alluded to the hurricane that hit, and that was while I was there. That was while I was living there, and so this thing hit, and all of a sudden all electricity on our island was gone and all communication. So I was sometimes working by candlelight, and sort of that it's just sort of the right atmosphere for this sort of thing. So Malu, my now wife, she was telling me a lot of these stories, and I was hearing details from her family as well, who I was living with while I was there. And then, I tried to do a lot of internet research as well, and kind of see okay, so is this the same in all regions? And no, it's not. It changes a lot from place to place, which of course gave me license, I think, to, okay, well, I can customize this quite a bit.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a good amount of sort of sitting on it and researching it and thinking about that. And a big part of the research really is sort of just being there and seeing all the different places we can have access to and what possibilities there are, because that's also where we filmed, is where I was when I was writing. And the story sort of goes to lots of different places, and it was sort of written around the places that I saw there. So even that sort of thing, outside of just the monsters and the legends, became an important part of the research.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because part of just enjoying the film when I watched it is the beauty of the Philippines that you deliver. We love our islands, right? I love the visuals, so I can see that. I love that you made that statement, that you kind of tied that in there. So you put the script together. You have to find an amazing cast. Can you tell me about some of the casting decisions that were made, as well as the amazing Jake Macapagal, who just spoke a second ago? And Jake, when you got on board, I'd love to hear what you thought of the character. But leading into Jake, Randall, can just to throw it back to you, some of the casting, and then finding, you reached out to Jake, but the decision for his character, and then Jake can lead in with that.
Mm-hmm. I'll mention some of the characters, and I'll end with Jake so he can take over. So of course we wound up eventually knowing that we would have this female lead as well, who would be the girl who, spoilers, but it happens within the first 10 minutes. She is an Aswang, and she's sort of living as a human and trying to sort of be human and be part of this team called Phase. And I was looking sort of for someone who was really a fresh face, who could be kind of like the point of identification for the movie. And I had kind of searched around quite a bit to try and find someone who would be appropriate for this. And we landed on Jessica Neidstadt, who is a YouTuber, and she has quite a big YouTube following, and she'd really never done much film acting before. I think she had done a little bit in school, sort of acting, but this was a very new thing for her. But I mean, she was great, and she threw herself just totally gung-ho into it. And there wasn't any audition process. There wasn't any auditions for really anybody. It was just sort of a conversation with her, and then just sort of feeling each other out and see if it could work. And after meeting her, I really felt like she's a very down-to-earth, very serious sort of person. And so I thought, like, okay, yeah, she's probably going to be able to deliver this, and she did, which is great. And then a lot of the other parts I filled out with people that I sort of know, because I had made a feature previously in Philippines called Far Away, and so I tried to. I think I brought back almost every main cast member from Far Away in some sort of part or another in this. Sometimes with their parts sort of written and refined to match their personalities. So Dana Jameson, Leonard, Olar, and a couple of others were from Far Away. And Andrew Riley, yep, a friend of mine who plays not only Richard, but also, because he's very tall, he plays the Kafir, which is our sort of version of the Capre, and he plays a bunch of makeup monsters because he's just so tall and he's very good at playing these monsters. So he was great for that. And finally, for the part of Setsuko, who is eventually Jake's character's wife, in a sort of a key relationship in the movie, I was really looking for someone who could play this part, and I kind of wanted to have an ethnicity outside of Filipino or Caucasian to just sort of internationalize this thing and sort of drive home the point of that this is this really international team. I had to look around a little bit to try and find someone, but I had remembered a film that I saw in a film festival years ago when Far Away premiered, and it was a short film, and I remembered an actress, Christina Yun, who she was very funny in this short film. It was just a tiny little short film, but I thought, okay, well, she's very funny. I'll put this away in my mind. And way later, I was looking for someone for this part, and I thought, well, let's reach out to her, see what she's up to. And she's sort of transitioned into directing these days, but she decided that she was willing to come in and play this part and return to acting for a little bit. And yeah, she was great as well. But the sort of moral of that little story is that, be in things, because you never know who's watching. Someone's going to remember you in almost any part. But then, of course, the big central piece here was casting Jake. And I mean, we sort of said what it was, but it was a bit of a dance between us at first when we were trying to figure out, like, if we were really going to be able to make this movie together. I kind of decided early on, like, he's not sure, but I'm sure. So I just started writing it for him.
Super optimistic positivity all the way through, huh?
Yeah, I was just like, well, I think it's going to happen. I got good vibes for this.
There we go.
And luckily it did. Otherwise, I would have had to do some scrambling rewrites, but it happened. So that's to you.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in a nutshell, that's how really how everything is with Randal. I mean, he's very, very persistent. And the thing about him was that he called it a dance but in a way, if you don't say no, that means that you're really thinking about it. I was pretty positive. It just took me a long time to decide because I wasn't really sure about the genre. I've never done a zombie kind of like, there were no trepidations at all. I know I can jump into it, but I'm not sure to be locked on an island where there will be a little bit. You don't have the regular convenience. Like, for example, I didn't know if there was a Wi-Fi then. Very small. I just didn't know because there were a lot of things happening that year. And I think what I couldn't, at that point, I couldn't say to Randal, okay, I have 2 weeks that we can work on, put in everything. And then we decided the days, but at the same time, I was really interested. One thing about coming into a very close, a family cast, sort of like you feel like there's a lot of immersion in itself by being on the island, and I was really interested in that. And since my training is also theater, you know that building that relationship with people, with your co-workers and co-actors and the production team will really help to bring the film forward. So and there you go. I mean, I think after a couple of meetings, we did say we were ready. I found myself in Biliran, so I was very happy about it.
Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about so when you decided to take on the role, when you were finally looking at the script and you know you're going to do this character, what did you connect most to the character, Jake?
I
and how would you explain it to the people that haven't seen the film yet too? You know, tell us a little bit about your character.
Okay, well, I really didn't get into the. I when I read the script, I didn't know what was unfolding until I really got into the wardrobe, into the wardrobe department, what I was gonna be wearing and where we're gonna be located, and then I just realized this character. How can I explain that? Oh, that's a good question. I'm normally not thrown with a question, but I guess. Oh my goodness! Because okay. I realized that I can put some humanity with this character because I could really identify with him in terms of, love conquers all. And at the same time, we were situated where there's a lot of representation from different, from an international cast in the team itself, which is Phase. And I do know how to work, and I've integrated with Americans during a tour in my life. So I know that if we were to build an international group, like a Phase group, the Phase group is these members fighting off the Aswangs, that I will not be a sore, I won't look like a sore thumb. I will be part of an integration. And that's the comfort I had with the role, knowing that I know how to work with different types of people. I know that, I could bring in something here. And I think very freshly at that point too, I was studying some stage combat techniques, where I was heavily into like martial arts. I think, yes, so I was pretty there was a particular scene where Randal was doing a choreography for a fight scene, and I think I was giving him some tips. Do you remember that, Randal?
Possibly.
That exchange of guns. But anyway.
Yeah. That's definitely in there.
Yeah, so I said, "Oh, this is how we're gonna do it," and then and since Randal was very collaborative, it was very easy to do.
It was nice. Your version looked much better than. So he has a move for this. Thank God.
Yeah, because so I know the comfort that I'm going to be getting, but I hope I answered your question. Yes. So I just got into my role like a glove.
Good. And like you said, you had a little bit of apprehension at first because of, kind of like life issues and just making things work with everything you had going on, that happened that year. Where did the apprehensions go away once you're on set? You were amongst everybody and you could build that rapport, positive vibrations, a good working relationship with everybody on the cast and crew?
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. So when it's an isolated crew that's going to live in an island, especially Biliran, you will see that the whole village is actually, cheering for you to make a film. So I'm talking in terms of convenience. It was very family oriented. The mothers and the aunties were providing us nutritious food every 3 hours. And, you could hail a motorcycle anywhere and just say, "Hey, can you help me get to here and there?" You don't even have to see this. You don't even have to say, if you don't know the street, just go forward and go straight, kaliwa kanan, and then you'll get to where you are. There's the whole town of Biliran is just very supported supportive because you know that they want their town to be on the map as well.
Definitely.
So it's
That's
very
beautiful.
exciting.
Yeah. About the motorcycle drivers, like I know that for some of the cast and crew, like they eventually realized that like sometimes they didn't have to know where they were going at all. They could just get on the motorcycle and the guys would sort of know like, oh, this person is definitely with that movie shoot. And they would like take them off to wherever we were filming. Like they just sort of knew where filming was happening, where our home bases and stuff were. Because it's a small island and word
Yeah.
travels fast. And they're just like, well, yeah, the movie's here, you know, the monster movie.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That's when that would be an apprehension I would have as well, that Jake would that had a little bit at the beginning. Because, well, for me, I've never been to the Philippines. That's a goal of mine. I've said it on the ShoPowSho plenty of times. That's a goal. Yeah, so that would be a fear, because I wouldn't know exactly places. I don't speak the language, unfortunately. I will, didn't get to learn it as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that seems like it was an amazing experience.
But Kuya P, kudos to the American crew and cast as well. I mean, they honestly, if you think about the word cowboy, which is a word that we coined for Americans, so we're very cool. And since World War II, pre-war, you can see that they were comfortable as well. They would. I know the 7,100 islands. I've never been to every island, but I know how to integrate and just disappear from the crowd. But as the Americans were there, they were there before me. When I came in, they were already part of the crowd. They were not sticking out. They didn't feel the other. They were just building and just part of the community that's making a film in Biliran.
A lot of our American crew members and cast members had been in Philippines for my previous movie, and they were there for like 5 months previous, and then like had visited along with me during research trips and stuff for like even more. So like for many of them, like they, we all kind of felt like, especially Biliran was like a second home to us, and everyone was getting pretty fairly comfortable with it. So that was one of the sort of advantages of being really on our home turf there.
That's beautiful. And yeah, and just have people that respect, our country and our homeland. And that's amazing. So Randal, so you're making the film, you've cast this amazing cast. Tell us about the production. Some stories, anecdotes. Well, actually, before we get into that a little bit, so you wrote this script, you've cast these amazing actors. What was the one thing, before we get into like tales of the production, like scene that was the film for you? As a writer director, there's certain parts of our script, of that story that, man, I'm dying for this part that I wrote. The cinematics of it, you visualize it. That for me, that's kind of how I'm like, right? So, what was that one scene for you, or dialogue that really was important, that if you nail this is my film right here?
There's I don't want to spoil it, but there's one scene that takes place on top of a mountain that involves a village, and something happens to the village. And seeing the movie, you probably know about it. So that's
we can watch spoilers.
Yeah, that's a spoiler one that we won't talk too much about. But another one that was really, really big for me that I was focusing on in a lot of ways is basically the big finale, which takes place sort of intercutting between multiple dimensions because there's a bunch of characters who have been sort of hypnotized and their consciousness is on another plane. And this to me was very much like, okay, this is how we're going to make this feel like a big budget thing without a ton of budget, which is we're going to have this amazing creature. We're going to have Andrew Riley is nameless in that gigantic makeup job, and he'll be on this one side of the battle, and then there's the Aswang flying in the sky with special effects, and then in the meantime there's all the characters who are hypnotized, and we're intercutting between these two things and showing like one person like gets nudged in one dimension and it reacts in the other one. And this was like, okay, if this complex cutting can be all planned out and very elegant, and the music can be really pumping and bringing us places, it can make the climax of the movie really strong. And teamwork is a big theme of the whole movie, and we bring in a ton of extras for that scene as well. And so we've got the team eventually working all together, and then the extras, those characters sort of join in on working together, and it hopefully feels like a real big blowout of like everything the movie's capable of, like the best makeup we can do, the best visual effects, the themes all coming together where this team finally puts aside their differences really and makes it happen, and they get all these people involved. And that one was one that I really focused on. And if you look at the days that we spent filming that's probably the highest density of like, how much time we spent per minute of finished film. We spent 4 days in various forms for just that sort of 8-minute battle. But it came out, it was very planned out, and that was a key scene that was like, we've got to nail this, because if we're making this sort of low budget blockbuster, you have to have this ending that feels as big as we can make it, and that was the one.
All right, awesome. So other tales of production that you want to talk, anything that happened?
You want to talk about the cave, Jake?
Yeah, we can share this with you guys. I think this is the thing about being really, just really appreciating the things that have been gifted to you. One of the things that I could never really forget about doing one scene with Randal is we had to climb a mountain to get to the camp where we're gonna shoot. So when you say mountain, let's say maybe 6 stories. 6 stories, so that high. So you can imagine that everybody had to carry something to bring everything there. The lights, the equipment, the food, the water.
Yeah.
So alongside, before you get to the mountaintop where the bat cave is, are monkeys who like play with you or steal your things or just become rowdy because they don't want you there. That's their thing. And then we finally get to the bat cave in this really muddy, shit-ridden
guano
and stinky, smells like ammonia kind of cave where we had to shoot some scene, like big scenes. And the first thing, it looked beautiful from the outside, but once you get into the bat cave, no human had been there for I don't think any human would just go there for anything.
No one has ever lived in there.
So you know what it is? It's you, when you smell it, you cover their nose, but when you smell it, you feel like you can taste it.
Oh,
that's how bad it was. But we're all professional actors. We're not gonna say no to Randal, and we made it happen. And it was the most unforgettable experience but during the shoot, I was like, man,
I feel that.
This is not healthy. And when coronavirus happened and everybody was talking about a bat, that it came from bats and stuff like that. Could it be that these American crew brought in something? I mean, from the bat, I don't know. We were just creating things in our head that probably we started all that when we shot in the bat.
That'll be our claim to fame.
Yeah. But what an experience, though. Again, what I'm saying here, Kuya P, is that, wow, what a gift. Post-prod for this is also took years. The amount of CGI that normally you need, like high rollers for producers, you need millions of dollars to create this. But here's our director who studied not on a course, but what he saw, what's available on YouTube, and just studied everything to get it all together. That's the thing that's fantastic about this. Randal it's like a DI. That's why when people ask me, what's the film about? I'm a little bit lost for words because, okay, it's a aswang, so zombie type of film, like meets Ghostbusters, but really low budget. But you don't want to say low budget because there's a lot of energy put in the film.
Yeah.
And that costs in terms of time and investment. That means that's more than what the money could really bring.
Totally.
Right. So the time that you spend with it, the years that you work on it is priceless. So you can't really say, oh, it's low budget. Oh yeah, just
Yeah.
because you didn't put in money. You put in your life, basically, to create this film. So I'm very happy that we're finally finding a platform to do this in the 21st century.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're finally getting the movie out there,
And we
yeah,
call it too. The great thing about this Kuya P is that, on the LA, on the festival, it's I call it the Randal Film Festival. It's not only it's about the No Dogs films. It's also because he's also the CGI master or the VX master for Lumpia with a Vengeance. So that's another film under his belt.
Yes, and my friends over there, Patricio, shout out to Patricio. And I saw you had AJ, I think one of the editors on No Dogs.
yeah, he's he was a supervising editor, so he helped put everything together for our editor and sort of plan the course on it. So
Yeah,
he
which
was
is-
involved.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is because a friend of mine, Georgina Tolentino, who wrote No Dogs, just for, I just want to squeeze this in because this is how the community builds.
Yes.
Georgina has seen Metro Manila and Sundance in 2013. She didn't even have the energy to introduce herself to me because she felt like she couldn't, and she slid me a DM on my Twitter and said, "Hi, I really love your film. I'm a filmmaker, blah blah." She's one of my better friends. When I visit the LA, I always spend time with her. And there was a point where she was trying to get her film together and it wasn't happening. During the pandemic, she was already working on several scripts. And then I said, well, why don't you, I sort of like connected Randal and Georgina. I mean, you never know how this is going to work. You just say you hope you both have lineage of Filipino. So why don't you just try to work together and see what you can come up with? And all of a sudden we have a short film. They have a short film together with the same DP from the Monsters Without and from the Lumpia with a Vengeance. So I said, we gotta really work together.
Hell yeah. I love that. I love this energy right now. Because yes, so many amazing people. I even saw my boy Edwin Santos is involved with this project.
Correct.
As well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He has
It's such a small world.
Yeah, he has a key. It's interesting because he has in that scene he's a very powerful character, a very important character. It's a short scene, but it makes a lot of impact on the movie. So it's a fun role for him. And that part was shot in California. That's the only. I mean, it takes place in California, but it's one of the only things not shot on location in Philippines.
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
So post-production, we talked about production, a little bit of tales during the production. So it took a while to make. So to Jake's point, you had to teach yourself a few more roles outside of just writing and directing this, Randal?
Yeah. So, I had dabbled in visual effects prior to Monsters Without. There's a handful of very simplistic ones in Faraway. But it sort of became apparent to me eventually that oh, hey, I'm not going to be able to get anyone to do all these VFX. I'm not going to be able to afford to do all these, but I may as well start seeing if I can knock out some of the simpler ones myself. And so I just started binging YouTube videos on this and learning a bit about Adobe After Effects and Blender 3D. And I had time. Well, I didn't really have a lot of time. I had started work as a video production teacher at a high school, and eventually I had a daughter, so a second kid. So I'm pretty busy, but I found time late at night to stay up and watch these videos and sort of crank out shots one at a time, very laboriously. And eventually I just started to realize hey, if I just keep doing this, I'll eventually have the whole movie. So I just kept cranking out shots one by one, and eventually it started looking back at the early ones I did, saying, well, that's not great anymore, and fixing those up. And I'd say that there's no better way to learn visual effects than to go film a feature-length movie that needs visual effects and then promptly run out of money, because that forces you.
Wow.
There is literally no alternative. It's learn VFX or watch the movie die. So I sort of, it was a life or death thing that you have to watch the YouTube video and learn how to take the layers and pre-compose them so that they can go on top of the other layers and to change the blending modes and track them, and all the endless sort of technical things. And it's honestly something that I predict future generations of filmmakers will be more and more adept at. It's that thing that Francis Coppola said, that someday a movie studio will just be held in a shoebox by a young filmmaker. Like, it's, they're the kids who are young now who have that same software, they're eventually going to grow up and be completely mind-blowing, able to do all their own visual effects, all their own writing, all within
Oh, we want to be part of that.
Well, I would say that our generation is sort of the first one, because we're the ones that are first receiving this inexpensive software that can be run on personal computers. Only even just 10 years ago, it would be pretty difficult to do serious photorealistic visual effects on a personal computer. Now, just anybody's gaming computer can basically do it.
Oh, and smartphones now.
Yeah.
I've seen such amazing films just made on smartphones. It's crazy. It's where we're going, and I have to tell you, that is so inspiring, Randal, to just that commitment level to see a project through. A lot of us want to be filmmakers, want to be actors. And speaking for myself, I've tried and failed, but it's through that trial and failure, that it makes you a better actor, filmmaker,
You gotta fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Randall thing. Say it again.
About the you have to fail. That's how you get to places. You just do it wrong a bunch of times, and that really teaches you. But the commitment thing for how I've been working on this same project for years and years. I mean, it really is just about being conscious of, like, hey, if I make a teeny tiny bit of movement every single day, eventually I'll have this giant thing. And of course, there are many, many days where you sort of hate the project. Many days where you're like, why in the world did I decide this was going to be the thing I would spend all my time making? And you just have to be cognizant of that is the process. And of course you're going to hate it at certain points, but then it's going to be done and you're going to love it again. It has to move through all of those processes. Basically, really, to get something like this done, you just have to plant your feet in the ground and say, it's going to get done. I'm going to do this, and I will never falter. I will never think, what if I abandon this and go to this other project? Like, don't fall for the temptation. Just always just hurl yourself at the same thing over and over until it's done.
Yeah, I want to chime in with that. I mean, there were definitely before the platform that we have now, maybe a couple of years ago, there was a point where, because I'm very close to some of the cast members as well, like Dana, so I would like drop her a direct message and would say, so what happened to our film? I would like always ask Dana as a joke, because what happened to our film that was like, in 2017. And sometimes I would be very, very careful in saying to Randall, what's going on with our film? And he would say, it will happen. He always would like tell me and coax me that it will happen. There are, we had to really separate with each other, because if I would be in constant communication with Randall, I'd probably hit his head and say, we need to have this film, and get that pressure going. But I guess the distance also helps to say that we needed the years to just, I don't know how it happened. I was just surprised. Randall gives me a surprise all the time. He just dropped me a message, said, we're having a premiere in the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival. And I'm like, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe that after so many years, in 5 years or 6 years, so many things have happened. We had a coronavirus. My father had already passed away. You can't figure out. Yeah. Wow, it's finally happening. We're finally breathing, and I'm gonna be in LA tomorrow.
There you go.
So I'm just like, oh, okay. Life
is unpredictable, you know what I'm saying? And you just got to take your wins when you can. And it's hard to make a film. And so again, kudos to both of you guys, and just striving, despite adversity, and just making it happen. So then here, my last question in regards to Monsters Without, because I also want to just throw a little bit of love to No Dogs, as well as what was the biggest lesson that you learned on Monsters Without, that you're taking forward to your next project? Because I think we all learn, as actors, filmmakers, creators, there's a little something we take from each project that carries us forward, and that we know what to do for the next go round. Randall.
I'm a little too close to the project still to really have evaluated its success or not. I'm excited to see the premiere and see how it goes over and all that. I mean, I essentially can't actually watch the movie anymore in many ways because I just see the details. I just see the shots. The story is so hard for me to focus on. I've seen it thousands of times basically. But,
well, I would say you learned a lot of lessons because you had to do so much in post, right? Those are some lessons there.
I think that would be the actual lesson for me is like, hey, you can do a lot of stuff in visual effects. And my next movie, whether it's special effects based or not, it's probably still going to have a whole lot of visual effects because there's so much, like, it is a very easy thing to do to like put buildings in the background or change signs and stuff. A lot of the visual effects in Monsters Without, a lot of them you will not notice. There are showy things like making the Aswang have wings and fly, but there's a whole lot of just little fixes and little location changes and little things like that, I mean, you can just litter your movie with that and no one will ever know. It can be photoreal and perfect, and you can just make locations better. You can make shots better. You can stabilize anything. You can do all that sort of stuff. And learning these visual effects tricks is going to help me to really make the next production even more sort of efficient. And that's a big lesson I learned.
Jake, how about you as an actor?
You
did it. You were apprehensive at first, but you did it, and now it's coming. It's going to drop this Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Well, to be honest, the apprehension was because, am I going to trust this young boy 6 years ago who I've never really heard of, whom I've never really met in person? Am I going to entrust, in quotation, my career? It's really bullshit. It's air. People who come to you, listen to them. You don't know who they're going to be, what they're going to be in a couple of years. They might be somebody unknown, but they will make something great. You need to, opportunity that comes to you is a gift. So you have to take it as a head-on. I 7 years ago, right after Metro Manila, my head was on the clouds, to be honest. And the apprehension that I had mentioned is a human thing to think that you'll be making the best thing or the next big thing after a big thing. That may never happen, or it may happen. But every opportunity that's being gifted to you should be taken in stride, because you don't know how it's going to move forward in the future. That's what it is for me. I'm just very honest. It's not, I mean, as actors, you always wait, you always audition, which you should never stop doing. But when the opportunity comes, you just go for it and accept it as a gift.
Oh, definitely. And I got to thank you so much for that, Jake, because that's real talk. I'm 40 something. I'll leave it right there. So I appreciate that honesty, because you're going to go a lot of ups and downs. You're going to hear more no's than yeses. And you have to just, learn that and keep it moving and keep the faith. And so I appreciate that. That's your foresight now with everything that you're doing. Yeah. And I love that, man. That speaks to the kind of person that you are. So that's beautiful, Jake. Thanks so much for that. So Randall, No Dogs. You directed this amazing film. Jake, did you make the introduction, Jake, to the actors?
Yeah, I did. I introduced. I just told Georgina not only a couple of times. I think I told when Georgina was looking for a director or some connection in LA. I said, why don't you meet Randall and Malou? And I think she sat with them one time.
Had coffee. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had coffee. She was in a different place too in her head. And Malou and Randall had a different thing. And after a couple of years, now they have a film. That's what happened, right, Randall? All of a sudden she was ready. All of a sudden she was like, yes, this is it. It just happened.
the production of No Dogs is like the opposite story of Monsters Without, because
Correct.
it just moved fast, 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 and it was almost just like very, very, everything went perfectly in sort of a lucky way. And that Georgina reached out to me, and she already had a basic idea, but she didn't have a script yet. And I, anyone who comes to me and says like, "Hey, I want to do a short film. Do you have advice? Would you be interested?" Essentially, it's just a right away. Yes, at this point, I want to help people. I want to be involved. That's how I got involved with Lumpia. And there's a couple more movies in the pipeline that I've been sort of getting my fingers into, that I've been trying to help people out with. And so she reached out to me with that, and the script came along very quickly. And I mean, she apparently had been thinking about this, and she had some research, and she continued to do research. So I just sort of guided along the script, hoping
This is
that,
all during the pandemic, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and we were just talking on Skype and so on, and Zoom, and I was just hoping that it would, come to fruition. And doing my part. Once there was a full script, I very quickly, I think part of how you can help with these sort of things is to really be on top of it for your own part. So once she delivered a script, I, as quick as I could, storyboarded it, and did a bunch of pre-production to really show like, hey, I'm prepared to deliver my part of this, including I did a full CGI animatic of the film, because
wow.
we knew that we would only have one night to film it. So I was like, we've got to be secure on every shot. So I went in and made 3D models of the set we knew we were going to use, with the dimensions, and planned out every shot. We didn't stick 100% to that plan, but I knew that like there couldn't be hesitation on set. There couldn't be a moment where you're like, what's the next shot? It has to be like move, move, move. So I did that, and then she started revising the script, and the day came for filming eventually. And it was sort of pre-cast, because she was starring, and then she had Ian Coleman, her friend, who's a great actor, and he was playing the other part, and there's only the two parts. And they rehearsed a bunch, and I visited for rehearsals, and it's pandemic, so we can't get too in depth really with our rehearsals, but we did what we could. And then we arrived on the day for filming, and honestly, on the day for filming, I had a lot of preparations, but I still wasn't sure how this was going to go down, because we had 15 pages of script to do in one night. It was a night shoot, and I was very worried about that. And Freddie Duarte, who's our cinematographer, who also shot Monsters Without and is just amazing, he just basically told me like, "Don't worry, Randall, it'll work." And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like there's a plan here. But he was like, "Don't worry, Randall." And so I got there on set, and the first thing I realized was that there was this big truck there, and I was like, "Whose truck is that?" And then the window rolled down. It was Freddie, and he had brought his friend Daniel, and they were like, "Hey, Randall, we brought all our equipment. We got 2 red cameras. We got all the sound stuff. We got everything." And
Amazing.
I had thought this was going to be a single camera shoot, and I was like, well, this will be pretty tough, but we'll make it work. But they said they got 2 cameras. They had all this stuff, and they had a bunch of members of their production company. And I was like, okay, we've got the tools. We can make this happen.
Awesome.
And so we hit the ground running as fast as we could once we got on set, and we shot everything 2 cameras the whole time, just to make sure we had like the proper amount of coverage of everything. Because like I said, this is a lot of pages in just one night, and these are not really the most simple of setups. It's not always just close up on guy, close up on girl. There's some choreography involved in some of these, because if you have a movie that's all talk, it should be a movie. There should be moving. They should walk around a bit. There should be a camera doing some stuff. We needed to create some suspense in it, and that, I mean, to be comfortable filming this would take, I don't know, 4 days or something. But we pushed it to try and get it done in that one night, because that was the money we had. That was the time we had.
Yeah.
And it worked. Thanks to those guys. I mean, Freddie is a lightning fast cinematographer. He set up his main lights that are doing sort of an ambient light throughout, and then, depending on the shot, changed where the highlights are and everything. But he and I, we've only worked on these 2 films together, but I mean, we've gotten. Oh no, we did another short between that, but we've done a couple films, and we share a sort of fast language at this point where I essentially don't tell him anything for lighting. I just say this is the shot, moves here, then moves here, starts here, and then he just puts on his headphones and goes, and I just chat with the actors, try and get them in the right mindset. And when I look at it, it's like, okay, no notes, it looks great, good job. His lighting is so quickly exactly what you want, and so we just zoomed past through the filming, and I mean, we got it all. It was stunning.
It's beautiful when you have a good team and they know what you're thinking. You're kind of like mind meld, and they know exactly where to set everything up. That's beautiful. I love that. I've been fortunate. You know, it's you get fortunate to find people that you can vibe with and know how you work. What was it like? So you did Monsters Without, a story about, you know, a little bit of Filipino folklore, and now with No Dogs, with Fil-Am history. How important was it for you as a Filipino American to, you know, tell these stories that are so important? Because again, there's not enough, and as we know as filmmakers, we don't always get the financing to tell that stories, you know, so you had to put together Monsters Without on your own, and you know, Georgina, you know, with No Dogs, you know, to make that happen, and you only had one night, as you said, to shoot this. So why is it so important for you to make Fil-Am stories that feature, that tell our tales?
Well, this was a really exciting and interesting era in the 1930s, and I mean, there's so many more sort of stories to tell about this, involving, you know, the sort of farm labor and the unions and the Watsonville riots and all. I mean, it's a very interesting sort of chaotic time that, I mean, it's in its own indirect way eventually led to Philippines independence. So it's, you know, even like echoing back over to the motherland in its way. And of course, yeah, it's very difficult to find the venue to tell that sort of story. But I mean, this is where what Georgina had done is really the key ingredient, is that she had managed to figure out a way to tell this story all in a diner and all in these conversations. And that made it, you know, doable. And, you know, this is a period piece, and we had virtually no money. But, you know, we did everything we could to match the period in terms of props and wardrobe. Even the movie itself, it has, I made it so it looks basically like real 35 millimeter film from that era. It's in 1.85 aspect ratio, matching more of a sort of older style. Although, of course, being the 30s, it would actually be in 4:3, but we didn't want to go black and white. It was really important to us to sort of match the era and make it feel palpably like it was that time. That way you could connect with the history that's going on in this, which is, you know, it's fascinating history. And, you know, it is me and Georgina's hope to sort of carry along with this. We're hoping to do more stories in this era and perhaps find a venue for that, TV show, you know, movie, something that can continuously tell stories in this era.
Well, I'm hoping that this will be a feature. You've got this chance. One of the things that I was having a conversation with Georgina is that I showed her a picture of the 1904 St. Louis World Expo, when the Philippines was, under the Commonwealth by America. And one of the tickets there was that, you know, the Filipinos were an exhibit in the World Expo, and we were presented as, after being quarantined in the ship, we were presented to eat. It's all in an archive in St. Louis. We were presented to eat dogs and stuff like that. Yep. So that carried on until 1938. I think it was one of the scenes from No Dogs is that scene where they find that ticket. Okay, spoilers there, but
okay.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm just so excited about this film too. It speaks to me. You know, we need important stories like these that actually happen. You know, if you come from the Philippines, sometimes you hear stories. America's so huge here that we always study about the West. So now it's our time to actually tell the story of how we perceived it coming from our perspective.
That's what I'm dying for as a Fil-Am who kind of feels lost, to be honest with you. And that's kind of what we bring that up a lot in ShoPowSho if you watch. And also we plan to deep dive even more, because I don't know. I don't know. I grew up very upset, and this is a whole story again on my own. I need to write a book about just being a mixed up kid that never fit in really in any circles. But yeah. So that's why I get into filmmaking and art is to help give that material. Well, one for my child. I'm a father. Is for the future generations, you know what I'm saying? So they can connect and remember and then bring our people back to life because, you know, these stories get lost to history. So similar question for you, Jake, as well as an actor, you know, do you feel very much the same? What kind of roles do you want to play? Are there from our past, our culture, you know, that just to show that love for our homeland?
Uh, Kuya P, maybe this is it. No, just to lay it all out. We're now all working in this direction. All the tests that you've had as a person, or the because of the diaspora, Filipino diaspora in the U.S. It's really about really getting together. The stories I can tell are only what the stories I lived myself. A shared experience that has been passed on to me or something that I've lived. And like, for example, the stories that you want to bring forth, we have this connection now. We can just all bring in and just collaborate and create something from really nothing. I am open for anything, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we can be anywhere else around the world, but we can just collaborate and create something together.
I completely agree. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah. I love our people so much. I just want our stories to be told. That those pre-colonization stories, you know, like I'm working on a Lapu Lapu script. You know, I have a Manong script that I'm working on. I have a Filipino DJ script that I'm working on with some people you may know, but I'm not going to tell you who. But I know you know them. There's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of stories about our people that I'm dying for them to be told, and I'm dying to collaborate with them and meeting you guys and talking with you guys as well, and seeing you guys are doing it exactly what you said, Jake. There's no reason why we can't just do that now and connect and make that happen. I'm just dying to tell them. You know, I can't wait.
So it starts from there. And Randall can attest to that. I mean, you just really have to start. Okay, I want to share this. It's so beautiful. I know it's music to your ears when you're suddenly hearing somebody say, "Hey, that's how I will talk. That's how I talk. I'm trying to express myself. That's how I look." It's really just just sinking your teeth into it now. Now is the time. We can't wait for the shift. The shift had already happened. It's already happening. So just ride that tide and never really feel that you don't belong. It's your fear is deep rooted. So, but also at the same time, we can move forward with those to create something.
Yes. I love this. So, let me bring us all up on the screen now. We're winding down. This was so much a pleasure. But for everybody that's watching this, though, I already spoke with both of these gentlemen before we got started. If you know the theme of ShoPowSho, I'd like to dig into our subjects where we have them tell their whole life story because we want to give them their flowers now. They're doing amazing things, and we all have stories to tell because we're not a monolith. So stay tuned. I will have Randall to tell his story. I'm gonna have Jake to tell his story. We'll get that all scheduled up. But for right now, this Friday, at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival, The Monsters Without is going to premiere. It's finally here. We're super excited. Check it out, as well as No Dogs. It's going to be playing with, I believe, Lumpia with a Vengeance is also playing there. Shout out to my boy Patricio. I think also the Fabulous Filipino Brothers. Shout out to my Bosco Brothers fam. I love you guys. Just so many of our people are going to be shining and so bright. I love it. I love us. This was so amazing. Randall, thank you so much for coming on, telling us about Monsters Without. And you, Jake, I've been trying to reach out to you, so it's a pleasure to finally see you and have you on as well. Where can actually, you know what? Hold up. I will ask one question. The one question I do at the very end before we throw out our Twitters, our socials, so our new followers can follow you guys. If you were to do a TED Talk, this is my Nerds of Color question, because we are part of the Nerds of Color. If you have to do a TED Talk on a particular nerdy subject, what would it be? I'm gonna throw it at Randall first, and then Jake. So you have some time to think about that one. If you were to give a TED talk on a nerdy on something, what could you go to town on? What could if somebody was to test your gangsta, like this more than anything? Like, what do you know on a particular subject that you can go that you could give a TED talk on? It could be, you can't talk about film or virtual effects now because I'm sure you've mastered virtual effects, Randall. What is something that somebody doesn't know about you that you really have a lot of deep-seated knowledge on?
Okay, yeah, that's sort of a tough one because of course the thing that I hurl myself at is I just know way too many things about movies. I guess it's been a little bit, but video games used to be a very big passion for me. And I would say especially the Final Fantasy games, when you go there's a window of about Final Fantasy 6 until 10 and 10-2, where within those I know basically everything there is to know about those. In fact, you can see that influence in both Monsters Without and my previous film Far Away. I do believe that sort of that form of storytelling that the Final Fantasy games have is very unique and very sort of intoxicating. And I try to pump that into my movies. So yep, video games, Final Fantasy games, but only that small window. After that, that's where I had to get a job.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that, Randall. How about you, Jake?
Okay. Okay. It's not, I don't know if the only thing I really know, this could be a little bit egocentric, but the only thing I could really be geeky about is self-love. And it may be a corny subject. You know why?
Oh, that's so important.
It's rooted in a lot of things. And who is a person that would know that except yourself? So you can share that part of yourself when you started to love yourself, what actually happened. And I could give a talk about that.
I absolutely love that. I actually been talking to a lot of friends, and actually male friends, because I think we're as males, we're getting more comfortable with ourselves, because we get so stressed out with the weight of the world and everything that we're doing. So like, I'll go get like my feet massage or it's important. What are some things you do for self-care, if you don't mind me asking? Because I'm always looking for that, because I get stressed out all the time.
The most important for me, this is what I say. The most important thing is really setting a minute or 5 minutes for yourself before you do anything else. Okay. Because everybody is just in a hurry to do something. Self-love is not just about giving massage or getting a massage or going to the spa. Self-love is just giving yourself that hour to just that minute or the few minutes to breathe and take in everything before you start anything, mind first, and then everything else will follow. Before you start, instead of being reactive, listening. Yes. It's also self-love. So it's a long process, but once you get a hang of it, you realize, I love this. I'm gonna hug myself for this.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, you gotta decompress and just you gotta have those.
You have to, and everything follows afterwards.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Thanks, Jake. No, that's beautiful. No, that's a perfect. Nerd talk, TED talk. I'm ready to listen to that. This is beautiful. And Final Fantasy, I never really got into Final Fantasy that much, Randall, but I bought the games. Is just time, because there were so many other games.
They just suck up time like crazy, because each one to get through the story of the dang thing is like 50 hours.
And that's
why I dropped off of playing those. I did think real quick. I realized what my answer should have been, which is classic rock guitar. That's something that I've sort of given up on it lately because I'm focused on this, but I've played guitar for ages and ages, and that's sort of what I do more sort of to relax. So I know like, all those classic rock bands. I'm pretty good at the guitar. I don't want to say too much because there are people who are way better, but I'm pretty good.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, gentlemen,
can you do that? Yeah, Randall.
What?
Bring your guitar on the premiere.
Okay, well, we can have some live karaoke.
Well, guys, this was so much a pleasure and an honor. I can't wait to have you both back to talk about yourselves a little bit more deep dive into just your career and where it's going, because this is only the start. You know what I'm saying? We've lost a lot of folks in these past couple of years, which was kind of what spurned me wanting to put together ShoPowSho. It started at the beginning of this pandemic, and I'm like, you know what? If I'm not going to get the money to make my Lapu Lapu story yet, let me at least do shows, because I know so many amazing Filipinos that are doing amazing things in various industries. I want to give them their flowers now. Let's focus on them, shine the light on them, because they deserve that love. So it's an honor and pleasure to include you guys in that mix. Welcome to my ShoPowSho family. Before we sign off, for the people that are going to be listening to this on the audio streams, I will have their social networking information in the description below. But how can people reach out to you guys, give you a follow? Randall, I'm gonna throw it back to you. How can they reach out to you? Twitter, socials, websites, all of that.
So yeah, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Most of my handles are like at Monsters Without, because that's my big focus is this movie. It's been my thing for the last few years. So you can reach me there, and also at www.randalkamradt.com. You can send me a message of any sort over there, and just check out what I've been doing and see videos and photos and that whole thing.
Awesome. Jake.
Yeah, just for me, maybe the easiest will be just use Google, and then it will lead you to all of my socials, really. So Macapagal is kind of hard to put together, but you can try. It's JAKEMACAPAGAL, if that fits. So my socials are in Google.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you so much, Randall. Everybody, again, I'll have it in the description below on YouTube. For those audio listeners, when you get a chance, if you're driving in your car and you're listening to this, take a moment and you can check it out. I'll have it there. This was so much a pleasure, guys. Again, I can't wait to have you back. For me, your boy Kuya P, you can follow me at Strange Since 1977 or at Temple Far East. Of course, here at the Nerds of Color, that's Nerds of Color on everything. ShoPowSho, that's our website. We have a Patreon. Please support us there for additional bonus content. And until next time, like we always say, mahal kita, salamat. That's it, ShoPowSho. Until next time, we're out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, this is Randal Kamradt, and
I'm Jake Macapagal.
And we're here on the ShoPowSho. We're going to talk about our upcoming films, The Monsters Without and No Dogs, and we hope you can join us.
Yeah, we had a wonderful conversation with Kuya P, so we're looking forward to hearing from you as well.
Hi, I'm Randal Kamradt, and I'm here with
Jake Macapagal for the ShoPowSho.
That's right. We're going to be talking about our films, The Monsters Without and No Dogs, which are playing at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival.
And we're having these in-depth conversations with Kuya P, so we're excited to show this and share it with you.